Jeff, I mean, this report paints a terrible picture of the Ferguson Police Department and the justice system there. Black people make up 67% of the population. Overwhelmingly, the white police force there, under pressure to come up with revenue, seem to treat black people more harshly. Black drivers subject to 85% of vehicle stops, 90% of citations are given to black people, 93% of those arrested are black. Black drivers twice as likely as whites to be searched during a traffic stop, and yet 26% less likely to be found in possession of contraband, and like 95% of tickets for minor things like jaywalking are given to black people. Are black people do they just jaywalk more than white people in Ferguson, Missouri?
Well, first of all, Anderson, Van wouldn't be saying we will never know what happened if the Justice Department would have found that Darren was guilty. He would have taken that as being credible. And that's the problem. The protesters are unwilling to square up the story that they believe to have happened with the forensic and testimonial and
well, we've just acknowledged
evidence.
That was wrong. That is not. There's no evidence that occurred. The Justice Department has said that, but they do paint a very alarming picture of what's going on in Ferguson. How do you explain the overwhelming representation of black people in the criminal justice system in Ferguson? The overwhelmingly white police force, focuses on black people far more than white citizens.
Well, the Justice Department report said that. The Attorney General couldn't bring himself to say that. Instead, we got a Justice Department burrito where the meat of the report, that Darren Wilson was innocent of the charges against him, was wrapped in this flimsy tortilla of accusations of racial bias by the Ferguson Police Department.
Wait, hold on. Stop. How are they? No, this
Van, you
isn't
get
Van.
to be on the news every
This
night
isn't
and
Van.
be wrong. Let me be on the news one night and be right about what happened.
Okay, Jeff.
So the emails are fine with you.
Van,
the
stop.
racist emails are fine with you.
Stop. Jeff, you said that these are flimsy allegations. Let's not turn this into a fight against Van and what he said. I'm asking you now, this is the third time I've asked you about these statistics, and you're talking about burritos and nachos. I mean, how is this these flimsy allegations? You've got racist emails going to supervisors, and you've got these statistics, which are certainly alarming.
Let's put it in context, Anderson. So Ferguson is a city that's very integrated, 67% black, 33% white, but it's an island of integration in a very segregated portion of St. Louis County where that entire region together has a population of about 85% African American. Those are the people that are working and shopping and driving through Ferguson, and that's what you would expect as far as police encounters.
Wait, you're saying because you're saying more black people come into Ferguson than the 67% of residents?
Right. 67% tells us
how do you know that? What statistics do you have on that? And also, why then, if even once they're in the criminal justice system, why do black people overwhelmingly not have their charges dismissed?
Well, Ferguson's courts are a problem. There is absolutely no doubt that this report unearthed some problems with Ferguson's courts.
Okay, so you admit that the courts are
structure.
You admit the courts are a problem, but you're saying there's no problem with the police.
Well, I'm not saying that. We found some disturbing things in this report. And the city of Ferguson's already moving to address some of those things.
Well, how are they moving? Because the police
connection.
chief has been running and hiding, running away. How are they actually addressing these things?
The mayor, the day that he found out about these emails, he suspended two officers and fired a third employee that were involved. All three of the people that are culpable for these emails have been disciplined already.
But Jeff, come on, this is not just Jeff. This is not just about three people who send in emails. I mean, yes, those emails are racist and incredibly disturbing. They were sent to supervisors and circulated. But if they feel free to send emails, calling the president a chimpanzee and making all these comments about black people, what else is going on here? I mean, come on, it's not just about emails.
Well, that's the question. So what else is going on? But that's not answered by the Justice Department report.
Actually, it is.
They just reached the conclusion.
No, but it is answered by the Justice
Department.
It is answered by the Justice Department report, because it seems what's going on is desperate for cash. There are all these emails from city officials desperate for cash in Ferguson, telling the police, basically compete to try to see how many citations you can give in a single traffic stop. So if you're stopping black folks overwhelmingly, and you're just trying to find as many possible citations. And once they're in the criminal justice system, they're 68% less likely to have their cases dismissed. I just want to read this.
And it's
between 2012 and 2014, black drivers twice as likely as white drivers to be searched during traffic stops, and yet 26% less likely to be found in possession of contraband. That not only is that wrong, it's just bad policing.
Those search rates are wrong. You're absolutely wrong. Right. The search rates are a problem. That should be addressed, and I think Ferguson is moving to address that. But this problem that we have with these profiteering municipal courts in Missouri is not just a problem with black communities. We've got it all over the state. There's a law called the Max Creek Law advancing through the Missouri legislature. It's named after a white town in outstate Missouri, and the Fraternal Order of Police supports that bill that cracks down on this profiteering by local courts.
Jeff and Van, I want to allow you to comment here. It seems to me, in reading these emails, when white police officers or supervisors or the mayor in town, when they get a traffic stop, you know what? They send an email and their traffic tickets disappear. And it's no one talks about like, oh, a failure of personal responsibility on the part of police supervisors in Ferguson, Missouri. They get their tickets expunged, whereas if you're a black person, 68% less likely to have your case dismissed. Van, I mean, is this just a problem of a few officers sending emails?
No, it doesn't seem like it. And part of the problem is that some of the local law enforcement just never misses an opportunity to miss an opportunity. This is a real moment where local law enforcement could come forward and say they are appalled. They could say this is not acceptable. They could say not only the person that sent the emails, but the people who got the emails, laughed at them, didn't report it. All those people should not be a part of law enforcement. My dad was a cop in the military. One of my favorite uncles just resigned from the Memphis police force, retired with honor. This is a horrible thing, but you're not hearing that from local law enforcement, and that is a big part of the problem. You want to know why there's distrust? There's more interest in jumping on what the protesters said than what law enforcement did and is doing, and that's a problem.
Jeff, I want to give you the final word here, but Jeff, I want to give you the final word here, but I just got to come back to again. No matter how many black people are coming to visit Ferguson, Missouri, if 95% of those who are cited for jaywalking are African American, you can't tell me that white people don't jaywalk as much as black people. They just get the benefit of the doubt. They just have the white police officer say, you know what, get off the street, don't jaywalk, I'm not going to cite you. If you're black, it seems like in Ferguson, according to these stats, you're more likely to get cited, you're more likely to get fined, and once you get fined, once you're in the court system, it just has a ripple effect from there.
But that's not what people were marching in the streets saying, Anderson. They were marching in the streets saying,
well, that's what I'm saying to you tonight, and can you answer that question?
Yeah, so we unearthed some problems with Ferguson PD and with their courts.
Actually, you didn't. It was the Justice Department that did that. It doesn't sound like a lot of people in the Ferguson Department. I mean, the chief has yet to comment publicly. I mean, this guy, the mayor, the poor mayor, who, by the way, gets paid, what, a couple $100 because it's a part-time position? He's the one in front of the camera. The chief is running away like a cockroach.
I don't know what that's all about, Anderson. I really don't.
Yeah. All right, Jeff. Well, listen, I appreciate you being on. It's a stand-up thing to be here. Thank you. Jeff Roorda, Van Jones as well.
Thanks, Anderson.